Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here with a really cool video for you today, focusing on a very simple composting system that our buddy Paul at Mountain Roots Farm in Tennessee has developed, involving primarily food scraps and chickens and wood chips. This to me is just a really cool and easy system for a market garden scale or slightly larger to help produce any of the 4 types of compost as described in the Living Soil Handbook, which, notably, when you get it from no-tillgrowers.com, helps to support videos like this. Hopefully you can take some stuff from Paul's system and develop a system of your own. So without more rambling from me, let's go visit Paul Wargo and his chickens and some geese at Mountain Roots Farm in Tennessee. All right, Paul, the composting setup. Can you talk about how this system works and then how you integrate the chickens?
So basically, today's a good example. We're going to be doing some winter clean out, resetting all the beds for the most part for spring. And so going to have a gang of people from a local restaurant that we work with, and we're going to be bringing all that material, all that plant matter, and we're going to be bringing it in here into the chicken yard, plus the 2 geese that we just added in about a month ago. And so it's pretty easy to manage. We bring all the material in, let them work on that for a day or 2 or 3, kind of however long that I think is necessary, and then we'll bring in carbon to offset and balance that carbon to nitrogen ratio to where we like it, and mix all that material together. We make a big pile over here, and what we do is we come out, feed the birds in the morning, right on the pile, throw the food right on the pile, and they're getting up there and eating their food, working that, pooping, spreading that pile down, looking for worms, doing all the good stuff that chickens do, shred and mix and tear and all those things. And then periodically, every 2, 3, 4 weeks or so, we'll just come back, consolidate that pile back up, get it stacked back up, repeat the process. And that could be 2, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on the amount of material, the season, and some different factors. After that, we're pulling that material out, and we've got just a mid-sized tractor. You don't need anything big. You can have a very small subcompact tractor just as long as you've got a loader. It could be a skid steer, but I find tractor is probably the most versatile piece of machinery that you can have on a small farm. It's kind of the Swiss Army knife for a small farm. If you need to move materials around a lot, pick stuff up, it's a very handy machine to have. So we've always got a few piles going, and we also, we like to have one pile that we're actually pulling from and screening material to be able to have finished compost that in turn goes back down to the garden. So it's a very full system, full loop type system. Bringing in wood chips, I've got an abundance of that, being an arborist, and it's a good clean carbon source. And so we don't bring any, at this point, we're not bringing any outside inputs for the composting process. It's all in-house material, and we feel very good, and that's very, it's not something that we have to worry about like some farms would with there being issues with particular compost. We don't have to worry about that on our farm, and that's a good feeling. You can just bring in carbon, and so you don't have any foul smells. So as far as kind of ratios, it really depends on how much plant material in, but we usually like to use like a 1-to-1 kind of ratio, 1 part as far as volume goes, okay? So maybe we'll say 1 bucket load of garden material that comes out, or 1 cubic yard, which is a couple bucket loads, and then the same ratio for wood chips. As far as that's usually going to give you a pretty good balanced final ratio. So as far as managing the compost after it comes out of the chicken yard, we're piling it up into a windrow. It's usually about 4 feet high, maybe 6 feet wide, and just as long as that needs to be to accommodate the various amounts of compost that might be coming out at that time. From there, we'll probably turn it once or twice. We usually leave it in a windrow type situation, because if you get a very large pile, you're definitely going to have some kind of dead space and some more anaerobic space. It's not equally as distributed, and so like to keep the pile small and manageable to where we're just, with the tractor, we can come in on the front of the pile, take the outer material, flip it up and over to the back side, and then you're pulling that inner material, and you're basically inverting that, pulling that inner material out, and you're distributing that onto the outside. Do that a couple times, and then at that point, it's basically just left for curing, and that could be 60 to 90 days. It really just depends on the time I'm, and a lot of it's observation, just kind of how, stick my hands in there, see what's going on. And with the screener, you've got a lot of flexibility. For me, I can let it sit for longer. I can pull it out a little bit earlier. And it also gives me the option to use wood chips where you might have a big piece of material like that you're not necessarily going to want to put down on your garden beds. This can cause a lot of issues with cedars, paper pot transplanters, and all kinds of things when you're talking about working the soil down at the farm. And so the nice thing about having that kind of component that maybe a lot of people might not think about, but for us it was a no-brainer because we had that free, clean carbon source, and we needed a way to separate out big chunky stuff like this, and that was kind of the missing component. I run it off at this point in time, since I don't have power in this area, I just run it off a generator, that I already had. It takes very little power. Oh. And then all the big material comes off this end, which is what we do is we take this bigger material, and I love digging my hands in there and seeing mycelium like that. You're getting that good breakdown action. You've also, got like little baby worms in here, and that's the stuff that I love seeing right there. Yeah. And we're just reincorporating this back into the working pile. So everything just gets reincorporated back in. So in the end, there could be, we're only a couple years in, there could be wood chips in here that are a few years old, but when you start breaking them apart, they break very easily. So this is the off screenings, which you can use for various things. You could use this for perennial plantings, like fruit trees, hedgerows. All kinds of beneficial fungi and bacteria in these wood chips. They're kind of inoculated wood chips, basically. And then what you're getting as an end product is a very nice kind of finished compost. There is still a little bit of woody matter in there, which I haven't found to be too much of a problem. Sometimes I'm using this as a surface mulch, and which is probably one of the best uses for this. If you have enough and you can use this as surface mulch, it is a killer mulch. You can direct seed into it. You get great germination. It's got tremendous water holding capacity. You can lay the hose when you're watering that freshly sown arugula crop in. It'll drink all the water that you can give it, and it drains nicely too, which can be a little bit detrimental. So you do have to make sure you're watering it in often, especially in the summer months. But after that crop comes up and it shoots that taproot down, man, that soil below, that native soil, is just nice and moist, and this stuff is incredible at holding moisture in and just keeping that biology pumping. So.
And did you say what the rough price estimate for a screener like this is?
So this one was $5,000, $5,000. I think this is one of the smaller models. They maybe make one smaller model, but the nice thing about it is just like, it's very simple. It's got a little electric motor on it. And for me, for $5,000, I think some farms can spend that on compost. A small farm can spend that on compost in one season. And so to me, it was kind of a no-brainer investment. We did finance it for short-term period of time with our bank that we've been working with for many, many years. And it's a very easy process. And so if you've got a tractor and you've got this piece of machinery, and you've got access to wood chips, I think those are the three components that you need to run a system like this. Of course, having the birds, the chickens helps. It's not a necessity, but it definitely having an animal manure, it definitely is going to just give you a more diverse, robust biology, quicker breakdown, and just more diversity in the soil. So.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I also think, I feel like, and I often have thought about you guys with this, especially if your farms were closer together, but I feel like, you know, if there was a small network, very tight-knit network of farms that were relatively close together, that you could like go in together and buy a piece of machinery like this that maybe otherwise a single family, maybe they couldn't afford or they weren't comfortable with buying something like this, but and to where you could like this thing, you know, you can pick it up and move it around. It's got some slots for some pallet forks. You could move it. Like, so if you wanted to move this around to, we need to process some compost right now, you could move it from site to site. You could hire somebody to move it. It wouldn't be that much cost. That would help distribute the financial burden load of a small farm.
Right.
So,
put it on a trailer or something.
put it on a trailer.
And just,
That's how we brought it over.
Because
Put it on a
making
trailer.
compost is not something you got to do right that morning.
Exactly. It's not something you got to do
Right.
every day. It's only something that you're, you know, I could screen that whole pile there in one day and be done with this machine until fall.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point about how much small farms spend on compost, I think like especially when we're using it as a mulch.
Yeah.
I mean, $2,000 on a half an acre is not crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's probably what you'll be spending, if not
Right.
more.
So if it
Especially
took 2
now,
seasons
compost
to
has
pay
gone
it,
up.
you know? I
Yeah.
mean, still, that's going to last you for many, many years.
I like that idea of using it cooperatively too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's not like the stuff you'd use regularly, like a BCS or whatever. This is just like something, you know, if all those little farms had a tractor, which I just think small farms, I mean, just having a tractor is, for me, I'm in my mid-40s now, and I'm not moving much stuff by hand anymore that I don't have to. So if you can have a palletized system and you're dealing with wood chips and stuff, you got to have something, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel that.
You know,
Like in my back and stuff. Like I feel what you.
this is my second year in a row with herniated disc early in the late in the winter, and I'm on the other side of it right now. But yeah, so all that little tweaking and turning and stuff that you do as a small scale farmer with sandbags and, you know, all the harvesting bin over and stuff, it's just anything that you can do to lighten the load for you when it comes to lifting heavy stuff. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, there would be no way I could do this scale of composting without a tractor or a skid steer or something.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it'd be very small scale.
Yeah. I'm very good friends with our chiropractor now.
Yeah. You got any neighbors that have a tractor?
I do actually, which has been come in handy. The only other question I have is this. Can you change the size of this screen?
Yeah. So I've got one other screen that came with it. I actually bought this one because the other one is a little more, it's got more rectangular slots like this, you know, which is, they sell for like more like topsoil.
Yeah.
But you can, I don't know if they make a smaller one. That would be probably a little more ideal. But again, I haven't seen much issue. Maybe you need to just go with a little bit more of a nitrogen source, you know, like feather meal or blood meal or something when you're amending your beds.
Yeah.
But kind of leaving it, I think I see a little more issues with it on the quicker crops that are not so deep rooted.
Yeah, and I mean, just visually looking at what you were holding there, it doesn't look to me like that would be an issue in terms of germination or excessively carbonaceous.
No.
Like I don't get that impression. The only reason that you'd want to screen it more is like you're saying, if you want a really high, you know, like a fertilizing compost that you're just trying to use it, it's less like a mulch. That you'd want it maybe a little finer, but I think this is like perfect.
Yeah, this is a great mulching compost, and I think it's okay to work into that top couple inches. It's not a high fertility compost, and I'm trying to kind of change that a little bit to get a little bit more high powered with the chickens, and I've got 10 more kind of ready to lay hens coming, so I'm trying to do as many as I feel I can manage, and because yeah, I have them to for the fertility and for the mixing and the recycling, you know. So
Yeah.
but as far as a mulch, I mean, you can direct seed carrots right into this, and you're not gonna have any weeds whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, come up. Basically, for a 100-foot bed, if I want to use it as a mulch, it's about 5 wheelbarrows, and that'll give me, you know, 1.5 inch, maybe 2. 6 wheelbarrows would be like 2 inches on a 100-foot bed, and that's really nice coverage there.
Yeah.
So,
That's very cool. Well, thanks, Paul.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how awesome is Paul? Love that farm, and you will be seeing more from Mountain Roots Farm in coming weeks. We will make sure to put some links for how to follow Paul in the show notes. If you like these videos or any of the videos we do, consider picking up a copy of the Living Soil Handbook or a hat or other merch at no-tillgrowers.com. Also consider joining the Patreon page at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers. This week there is a post up over there asking those members what they'd like to see more of from our work and this channel. Being a Patreon member enables you to help make those decisions. Also, there are some new discount codes over there, which is also rad. That's patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, or just hit that super thanks button. I can't get to every question we get on all of our platforms and emails and etc., or there would be no such thing as no-till growers because I wouldn't have any time left at the end of the day, but I will always respond to those super thanks questions and Patreon questions. So, super thanks for your support. We'll see you later. Bye.
And so we've always got a pile working, and we've always got a pile that is out curing, and then usually we'll have another pile that we're pulling. We'll probably have to okay. You can just bring in carbon, and so you don't have any foul smells.
Buddy.
And then, buddy, come. And then what was the other question?